My helmet's stuck. Oh, no, I'm still stuck. Guys. Guys.
Oh. Kay, be careful on that climb. It's a long way down. Oh, that's got to have hurt.
It's a puddle. It's a puddle. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Caver Keith Film Studio. I'm often asked how I set about making my amazing caving videos. That's a lie. I've been asked about 3 times in the last 11 years how I set about making my pretty rubbish caving videos, but as Alice Underground commented recently, they do seem to stand out from the completely rubbish ones. The film that you are now hopefully going to watch is the first of 3 behind the scenes videos in which I aim to answer a number of questions I've been asked over the last few years concerning my work. In this part 1, I will cover the equipment I use, cameras, lighting, sound recording and so on. In part 2 I will go over some top tips for budding cave videographers, and in part 3 I will look at the massive importance of editing your recorded footage. I produce all of my videos in full high definition, that's 1920 by 1080 pixels. Why not 4K? Well, at this higher resolution without extremely good lighting the quality will suffer, making the result potentially poorer than HD, and the resulting file sizes would be enormous, meaning that I would need to upgrade my cameras, my computer and my storage. Besides, my boast has always been that my films are low budget productions, and it's not really about the equipment, it's what you do with it. Also, 71% of my views are on mobile phones, so HD is more than adequate for most of my viewers' needs. The question I get asked most often is what is the best camera for underground filming. However, before revealing the cameras I use, I have to say there is a much more important question, and that is, what lighting do you use? But more about that later. Currently I pack 4 cameras when I set out to film below ground, and none of them are particularly expensive. They are a Panasonic Lumix GX7 Micro Four Thirds camera, a GoPro Hero 6 Black Edition, a Panasonic HXWA10 waterproof camcorder and a DJ Osmo Pocket gimbal mounted camera. The camera I have used for the vast majority of my work over the last 4 years is the Lumix GX7. I've had this camera since October 2015 and it is by far the best camera I've ever owned for taking underground video. It has great colour balance and performs well in low light conditions with very little evidence of noise. In all of these shots I've used very little front light. The cave passage is revealed by the caver's helmet lights as they progress towards the camera. In this scene the centre of the passage is very well exposed, but what impresses me more is the fact that the unlit areas to each side remain black with no apparent noise. The camera also has a very good built-in microphone, but sadly there is no socket for an external mic. However, this camera is neither waterproof or cave grit and mud proof, so cannot be used in more extreme cave conditions. With this camera I record in high definition at 50 frames per second. The ISO goes up to 3200, but I generally set it to auto. My second most used camera is the GoPro 6. I've owned this since February 2018. The quality of the images and the colour rendition from this camera are almost, but not quite as good as the Lumix. However, there is some evidence of noise in the less well lit shots, and the built-in microphone is quite poor. It does nevertheless have a number of major advantages. It's waterproof, it's very compact, and it has a wide field of view setting. And it can film in 4K. I use this camera for linking and on the move shots and for filming in the more hostile, i.e. wet and muddy areas of the cave. It's also my camera of choice to use in the more cosy cave passages. The wide angle field of view is very useful in confined areas where it isn't possible to get very far away from the subject. I've also used it as a second camera in multi-camera shots. With this camera I often record in 2.7K. This means that I can crop the resulting footage without losing quality. At higher definitions, better lighting is required or noise becomes apparent. My oldest and least used camera is the Panasonic W810. I purchased this camera in 2012 and it's still going strong. It's also a full HD camera, but the image quality is poor when compared to the more modern cameras, and it has a significantly different colour balance, but it is waterproof and has a good quality built-in microphone. Until recently I've used it as a sound recorder on a number of occasions. It also has a very good ultra close-up macro setting. I've recently purchased a DJI Osmo Pocket gimbal mounted camera. As regular viewers may realise, I really do not like caving videos taken exclusively with helmet mounted cameras. But sometimes the movement of the caver through a passage can only be properly captured by using a moving camera, and this is where a gimbal mounted camera excels. It also has a great selfie or face tracking mode, which I intend to try out in squeezes. However, this camera is the least suitable camera for the cave environment, and I'm not really sure how long it's going to last. Finally, I have a drone mounted camera, a DJI Phantom 4 Professional. In my opinion, drone footage should be used very sparingly, but it can be very effective in setting the context for a subterranean video. This is what a poorly lit cave video looks like. By far the most important thing to get right if you want to produce good quality cave videos is the lighting. I will now cover the lighting equipment I use, but how to position lighting will be covered in the next episode. Firstly, I use my helmet lamp. It's a 1300 lumen Scurion. This has two LEDs, one for flood lighting and the other produces a beam. It has programmable light output settings. It has proved to be an excellent video light. The illumination is very even, and much of my close-up stuff is lit just using my cap lamp. But before every budding cave videographer rushes out to acquire the latest model, I must add a cautionary note. Some club members have upgraded to 1500 lumen models, and on some camera settings these lights produce flicker on the resulting video. I often use other cavers' helmet lamps for backlighting too. A couple of years ago I purchased two Phoenix FD40 1000 lumen focusable torches, and these are in my opinion exceptionally good video lights. The illumination is very even with no hot spots whatsoever, and with 5 light output settings they allow me to control the illumination of scenes very precisely. They also have an IP68 waterproof rating, so they're good for immersion down to a couple of metres. These torches, whilst being excellent, didn't give enough light output for the bigger passages, so in 2018 my Phoenix, also known as the Photon Shop, was kind enough to loan me 3 FD65 3800 lumen focusing torches. These bad boys are the big brothers of the FD40s, having all of their advantages coupled with an amazing amount of light. I've been so impressed I've purchased a fourth one. They also have an IP68 waterproof rating, and a link to my review of these torches can be found in the video description. Whilst the FD65s are still amazing video lights, it hasn't stopped me looking for more powerful torches. And recently I was seduced by an advert for the 12,000 lumen Phoenix LR40R searching flashlight. It's early days, but so far the results have been very impressive. A link to my review of this torch can also be found in the video description below. If all you want to record is ambient cave sounds, then the built-in microphone in your camera will be fine. However, in a number of my videos there has been a requirement to record speech underground. Unless you can get very close to the subject and there is no or very little background noise in the cave, then the camera's built-in microphone will not be up to the job, especially when using a GoPro or Osmo. For recording speech, I have used my iPhone as a mobile recording studio. I've used it with and without an external microphone connected. The phone can be positioned very close to the subject, just out of frame, so that speech can be recorded even when the camera is distant from the subject. I've found that it has produced much clearer sound than the camera microphone with less background noise. I've now purchased a Tascam DR05 mobile sound recorder. This will give me much more control over the recorded sound levels than the iPhone and allow me to output the sound files in non-compressed format. So far I've not used it underground, but I have achieved very good results in the studio, both using the inbuilt microphones and using an external lapel mic. Although much of my stuff is shot with a handheld camera, I'm not a fan of shaky footage, so I generally pack a range of camera mounts. I have a number of Gorilla Pods which I use both as camera mounts and also as mounts for the torches, as all of the Phoenix torches, with the exception of the LR40R, have standard tripod threads. I also pack a monopod. This can be used to steady the camera as well as for positioning the camera in a place it is not possible to get to, for example to raise the camera up high or to position the camera over a pitch. My biggest dissatisfaction with my own videos is when a shot is ruined by the slight movement induced by a handheld camera. Ideally I would like to pack a tripod on all video trips, but carriage is quite often difficult. I've experimented with a wrist mount for the GoPro but haven't really got on with it, so I've now purchased a floating hand grip which angles the camera correctly and allows me to hold it really steady. I've made a leg mount from a camera mount taken from a Poundland tripod and a plastic tub. To attach it to my thigh or welly, I use an old knee pad with a hole cut for the mount to poke through, and I've used it to good effect to capture abseil shots. I use a couple of waterproof pelly cases. Here's the camera case. I've created partitions for different pieces of equipment using UPVC planks lined with foam underlay. This smaller case holds either my 4 FD65s or 3 of them, leaving just enough space to squash in the LR40R. In each case I pack a couple of microfiber cloths so that I can clean my hands before handling the equipment. And finally, here is all of the equipment laid out for charging prior to a trip. I think that covers everything to do with the equipment I use. If anyone has any questions, then please leave a comment below and I will do my best to provide an answer. In part 2, I aim to cover a number of filming tips along with some common errors to avoid. This is the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, then please click on the thumbs up. That will encourage YouTube's algorithm to recommend it to more people. Also, why not click on the subscribe link and ding the bell. If you do that, you'll get informed when I upload new stuff. Don't forget you can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. See you next time. So you enjoyed that, did you?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, Mr. Edwards.
What did you particularly enjoy about it?
The fact that I had to carry your bloody yellow case the whole way around.